damn it. Hello and welcome to another episode of All the WrestleManias podcast. We hope you enjoyed our most recent episode, a popcorn match for Black History Month on Black representation in pro wrestling, and a review of WrestleMania 18 featuring The Rock versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan. We had a lot of fun recording them for you, and we're excited to be back in the studio again today. This episode, we thought we'd try something a little bit different. We've got a full event review for an event that is not a WrestleMania. So I guess we could call this Not the WrestleManias or something along those lines.
Not just WrestleMania.
Not just WrestleManias, yeah. We're going to need a new logo, so Rich, you're going to have to get on that.
On it.
Yeah, I figured. But as we were researching our last popcorn match episode, we discovered that Junkyard Dog was the first Black performer to main event a WWF pay-per-view way back in 1985. So we thought, well, let's take a look at that show. It turns out that show was called the Wrestling Classic. It was the very first pay-per-view held by the company after the success of the original WrestleMania. It was held November 7th, 1985, about 8 months after the first WrestleMania, which of course was March of that year. We'd say it's sort of a forgotten event. So we thought it would be fun to revisit it, sort of viewing it in the context of some of the WrestleManias that come both before and after. And of course, we're always up for a chance to watch some of our old school favorite guys like Tito Santana, Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper, and the Macho Man, Randy Savage. This one has a fun twist, a 16-man tournament that makes up almost the entire card, with the exception of one Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper match stuck near the end as sort of the main event. The format is very similar to the tournament that we'll get later in WrestleMania 4, which coincidentally also has Macho Man going all the way to the end of the round. So the venue for the Wrestling Classic was the Rosemont Horizon, Rosemont, Illinois, outside of Chicago. Coincidentally, also one of the 3 sites that was used for WrestleMania 2. There was an estimated attendance of around 14,000. We got Guerrilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura on the mic, who are 2 of my favorites in terms of play-by-play and commentators. And, of course, Mean Gene and Lord Alfred Hayes on the interviews backstage. Say we're ready to get into it.
So this show opens up with a vignette of a pretty lady with Vince McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes drawing the names for the tournament. And it was slow, and I started immediately thinking that I'm regretting starting this. And I should have never started watching this.
The big board that they use for the tournament looks like, elementary school art project with like pictures of the wrestlers. It's a sort of an odd color, and it's
Yeah. Yeah, real quick run out the Woolworths to get markers and a poster board, a ruler to draw some straight lines.
Some glue, don't forget the glue.
And then we had an interview of President Jack Tunney, totally a puppet position. Jack is not very ready for television and is very nervous and is kind of mumbling and stuttering. I again am regretting that I started watching this.
It's a little choppy, yeah, for sure.
And then we finally got to the first match, and we went down to the ring, and the first match was Adrian Adonis versus Corporal Kirchner. What did you think of this match?
It was surprising to me, actually, how much I liked Adrian Adonis throughout this event. We saw him in a couple of WrestleManias where, he was sort of past his prime, a little very overweight. He could still move a good bit, but just not really out there doing anything, particularly of note. But he actually looks really good here. He's sort of got this, I don't know, this kind of old school, like, tough guy looking thing. He's got frosted tips, but he also has like a leather jacket. So it's a little confusing.
This is like some sort of like pretty boy gimmick. I think they called it at some point during the night. I noted that Adonis is no Adonis, no. But I really actually dug him in this, and that like I really liked the grappling quick finish. It had a very like authentic feel, and that's something that I felt throughout all the matches in this show, actually, is that all the matches felt very like authentic sporting event kind of thing, and not some sort of fixed theater.
Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit too about some of the finishes in this particular pay-per-view are crazy as hell. There's some stuff on here that we haven't seen really anywhere before or since. So that's very interesting. I think so. Corporal Kirchner, not to give him a short shrift, but he had a pretty short run into WWF from what I remembered. I sort of thought of him as a more athletic Sergeant Slaughter, and he was actually in the military, which Sergeant Slaughter was not.
Kirchner did look impressive, and like he's ripped. and him and Adonis really go at it pretty good. And then the finish was a stunning finish in this match. So Kirchner goes to suplex Adonis, but Adonis reverses the suplex into a face buster kind of thing that looked, oh my God, like horrible and violent. And like stunned him and got a pin out of it. So, and the crowd went nuts. Like this Chicago crowd had already been pre-gaming on hot dogs and beer in the parking lot for 7 hours before the show started. They were fired up when Adonis wins this thing.
Oh, and they show actually a slow-mo replay of it, and it even on slow-mo, and they don't do the WWE thing that they do now, which is where they cut away from the actual impact so that you can't see that it's fake. And you know, so they show the whole thing start to finish in slow-mo, and it still looks like hella tough.
And then after that match, Adonis delivers an amazing line in a promo of know the difference between a padlock and a wrist lock, criticizing Kirchner. Like he's like, Kirchner's crap. He doesn't know the difference between a padlock and a wrist lock. Like that line got me.
I like that a lot. Well, who was next then?
The next match was then the Dynamite Kid versus Nikolai Volkov.
I mean, I was excited for this one. We you know, obviously we got quite a bit of British Bulldogs in the WrestleManias that we've watched, but you don't see the Dynamite Kid all that often solo. So it was nice to see him here doing his thing.
Yeah, and he doesn't get to do a lot of his thing though. Nikolai comes out, he sings the entire Russian national anthem, and the crowd is ready to destroy the auditorium to get to him. And then right as he finishes, Dynamite Kid drop kicks him from the top rope and rolls him up for a pin.
Yeah.
And we're done.
That's crazy. I love Nikolai Volkov singing the Russian national anthem as a heat generator. I think it's one of the all-time great moves, honestly, along with Iron Sheik, you know, spitting on the America around #1 US, you know, that sort of thing. I think it's fan-fucking-tastic, and I love to see it. And I love the crowd's predictable ape shit reaction to it every time too. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, they can't handle it. They completely forget that it's theater and that Iron Sheik is an American citizen and is in love with living in the USA. And same with Nikolai Volkov. He's the same deal. Like, and then, but the crowd just loses their shit every single time.
Also, Nikolai Volkov not actually Russian. So yeah, that drop kick looks, again, they hit it with the slow-mo replay, and it looks even more impressive the second time around. Dynamite, you know, looks like $1 million here. This is obviously before he sort of had his kind of long stretch of injuries that sort of led to him stopping wrestling, and he just takes it to him. That was hot.
And then after that, we were blessed with a Macho Man Randy Savage promo. It's always a treat when Macho Man, especially when he's working heel, has the mic. He turns his back to the camera at one point and goes, "I'm as quick as a cat. Quick as a cat." And then he like snaps back around to the camera.
It's to show how quick he is.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I always love that Macho gets so into talking on the mic that he turns his back to the camera. Like every wrestler always maintains that facial contact with the camera, but Macho Man doesn't care. Right. You can look at his back through the entire damn thing. He's got his point to say.
And it's still better than most of the promos out there. So I wrote down my favorite quote from that one was, "I'm hyper and I'm ready and I'm nervous." That's great. Hashtag blessed.
And then that promo leads us into Macho Man's match against Ivan Putski.
The Polish Hammer, maybe the greatest nickname of all time. I'm maybe willing to fight somebody about that. So Putski is an absolute unit. Looks taut. Oh my God.
He's taut.
He looks like he spits nails. That guy looks tough as hell. And they actually spit in each other's faces to start this one off.
That's how you get COVID.
Among other things. But the crowd is definitely digging it.
Putski actually looks like his name should be Adrian Adonis.
That's a good one.
They don't work very long in this one, and Macho gets he's basically like hugging the ropes or something to and holding down Putski, and like Putski's like actually reaching over Macho's back trying to point at the ropes, but the ref doesn't see it, gets the 3 count, and Macho rolls out. Doesn't stick around for any kind of celebration.
Yeah. I thought that was the most blatant legs on ropes finish I've ever seen. I don't think you'd really get away with that these days. You know, the fans would just not buy it. But that's some great healing by Randy, I got to say.
Yeah, and it's an opening round match, so you're not going to get like President Jack Tunney has come to the ring to reverse the decision or anything like that happening. None of that bullshit's happening here. The ref didn't see it. The ref is the law in the ring, and that's it.
Yep. Well, next up is two of our other favorite guys, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. So I'm excited because I love both of these guys. And Ricky's in my all-time top 10. He's so athletic, so fast, so smooth. He always sort of flows, chains one movement to the next, which I really like. I also think he always looks super cool in his karate outfit and his headband and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very 80s I'm badass look. And I always think that he looks the most legit of everybody. He always looks like he's definitely a real fighter.
These guys definitely go at it. Davey Boy is so strong. He does these overhead press slams thing that he would do pretty much through his entire career, I think, where he just holds the other guy up and just holds him, walks around with him.
He does it multiple times to Ricky Steamboat in this match, and his arms never shake. And Ricky's giving him a bit of a help with the jump to get up there, but once he's up there, Ricky can't do anything to help him.
He's just dead weight at that point.
These guys were moving real fast through the whole match. This is some amazing British Bulldog footage, and this is... Even though it's a short match, it's one of his best, and it's also one of Ricky Steamboat's best, in my opinion. And they're going at it so hard, and then this has a weird finish to it.
Yeah, so Davey Boy kind of nuts himself on the top rope. The ref waves off the end of the match, and Ricky sort of helps him out, and shakes his hand and all this stuff. Great, great sportsmanship from Ricky the Dragon, of course, because he's an amazing human being in addition to being an amazing wrestler. We love you, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I agree. My only criticism for this match is this one was super short. I could watch those guys go all day. I really wish they had been matched up against different people at the start so that both of them could have continued into the tournament a little longer.
This could have been like a best of 19 falls for me. So after that super weird finish, we're blessed again with a Junkyard Dog promo after this match. And he's a fast-talking, smooth-talking guy. I did note one notable quote out of it that I was able to pick up because he was talking so fast was, "Congratulations to the Chicago."
the Chicago.
So he's congratulating the city for hosting this event.
Oh, okay.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah. No, that's very thoughtful. We talked about his theme music on the most recent popcorn match about black representation.
Grab them cakes.
It's great. Am I hallucinating that he did use Another One Bites the Dust for his theme song eventually, right?
I think he did. But this was, so around this time, WWF also put out the wrestling album.
Right.
And Grab Them Cakes is on that album. Though it's not performed by Junkyard Dog. But also on that album, I Am a Real American, which becomes Hulk Hogan's theme song after this event.
Yeah.
So the next time that we see him at WrestleMania 2, he's a real American.
I think we all knew, though. So you said recently you were letting your kid listen to the Real American theme song.
He jammed to it. He rocked out. He started slapping on the couch, waving his hands in the air. He's a real American, too.
That's awesome. So proud.
You know who's not a real American?
Who's that?
That Bubba Iron Sheik who Junkyard Dog had to fight.
What a jabroni. Decided if I like watching him wrestle or reading his Twitter better, but it's okay to like two things.
It's a close race between those two. Yeah, Iron Sheik is getting strong heat immediately. He gives the crowd a bras d'honneur. Good old arm salute to everybody.
Yes.
I think he even spits on a fan at one point.
Nice.
Like, this man knows how to get heat and how to anger a crowd.
I don't know how he didn't get stabbed to death in one of these cities, honestly.
It's really amazing. Like, he has to have some sort of security, or they're letting him park in the basement of the arena and he can drive out in an unmarked car. So there wasn't much technicality to this match.
No, it was pretty just a
brawl.
brawl. Yeah. I said I wrote down that JYD gives the Sheik the Irish whip, and then he does this kind of like weird one-legged bounce off of the rope. Looks like he maybe just missed a step or something. It kind of sort of struck me wrong. And then at the end, of course, JYD does this big headbutt.
Yeah, I also noted that this match in this time period could have been a main event if Hulk Hogan wasn't around. Because JYD, Junkyard Dog, definitely had like a lot of crowd support behind him. His pop is actually bigger in this match than what the pop that Hogan gets.
Yeah, JYD was huge. I mean, we'll see it a few more times in this particular pay-per-view, but the crowd was, they were all in for him.
After that match, we have Terry Funk giving a promo. I'm concerned for Terry Funk's health at this point in time. He did not sound sober whatsoever.
No.
It's not good.
I've said this before, but Terry Funk has just always looked old.
He looks the same
He
now.
looks the exact same. He could either be like 45 or he could be 75 here. But he's up next in the tournament here with a guy named Moondog Spot, who is one that we were not familiar with. His real name was Larry Booker. He's not around anymore. He's got a super impressive beard and jeans kind of cut off and an honest to God rope belt. He's got quite a look.
Yeah, he's carrying around like a cow bone or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is another weird match, if you want to call it that. So Terry Funk tries to convince the slow and dim-witted Moondog Spot into just getting out of the ring and taking a double count out with Terry, and then trying to convince him that, they'll both win. They'll both move forward in the tournament if it's a double count out.
That's not how that works, Terry.
No. And it's very clear that Terry's just trying to lure Moondog to get out of the ring, and then Funk would run back. But there's some sort of like weird interaction that happens just outside of the ring, and Funk suddenly couldn't get back into the ring while Moondog got back in, and Moondog wins by countout and moves forward.
The bamboozler becomes the bamboozled.
Yeah, I mean, this match was mostly all show. There was no action to it whatsoever, so I'm struggling not to call it a match.
It's a little bit of filler for sure. So after the bell, Terry is mad about being outsmarted by the Allman Brothers' fourth roadie, attacks him after the bell, and that's pretty much the end of that.
And then after that was a Don Morocco promo, and all I really noted out of that was that Morocco had this amazing shirt. It was like his name in like neon with an ocean wave over it or something. It was like the most quintessential 1980s souvenir shirt you can imagine.
That shirt was pretty dope. It looked like something you would buy at like Santa Monica when you're on vacation. Or Hawaii, maybe. You could probably sell one of those for $200 easily on eBay.
Oh, for sure, if you could find one.
Yeah, maybe
that hasn't been stretched out by Morocco's neck.
Maybe even more if it has some, Morocco blood or sweat on it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that guy's an absolute unit too. He's a friggin' beast.
So that actually brings us to the next match, which features another one of our favorites. And that is Tito Santana versus Don Morocco.
Yay, Tito.
I was really impressed by this match. I was really into it. I don't know. I can't place my finger onto why I was, but there was like some impressive technical stuff happening between the two, even though Tito is giving up probably at least 50 pounds to Don Morocco. It still seems like an even fight. And there's a lot of give and take in this match that I really got into.
Yeah, we saw Don Morocco in a couple of WrestleManias, and he never really did anything for either of us, I don't think.
I was never impressed by him, but then I see this match, and I'm starting to kind of understand why people liked him and how he was over with the crowd, especially as a face.
Yeah, and actually, so after this, I started watching, there's another compilation on the Peacock called WWF Grudge Matches, and it's another one of those Coliseum home videos. Some of the matches I don't even think were necessarily on TV because Guerrilla Monsoon is doing what is clearly like studio voiceover, not live announcing. And there's a match on there between Morocco and Hulk Hogan where they beat the absolute snot out of each other. And I was super impressed, honestly, with Morocco in the ring in that particular one. He looks tough as hell. His moves are, legitimate looking. And he actually works really well with Hogan, which I didn't necessarily expect.
So, and then he looks good against Tito Santana as well. And again, this match has a weird finish.
Yeah.
Morocco power slams Tito and then goes for the pin. But Tito gets his foot on the ropes. And the ref made it to 3. But then the ref noticed that Tito's foot was on the ropes at the 3 count. And so he calls off the win, but Morocco doesn't know. And while he's celebrating his victory over good old Tito, he gets rolled up by Tito, and Tito then scores the real 3 count win.
Yet another bamboozle. I think it's probably hard to have a bad match against Tito Santana, honestly. He's one of our favorites. He was my mom's favorite when we used to watch wrestling on Saturday morning. She always thought he was great. Co-host Rich got me a really awesome cameo video from Tito Santana for something that we were doing recently, and I treasure it. Like Tito is talking directly to me, so I'm a member of the Tito Santana fan club for life.
Yeah, he cuts a pretty hot promo for you.
It was good. I felt inspired after I watched it.
So even after that match, I'm already noting that this event is actually really amazing.
Yeah, this event is going strong, I have to say.
So then we have a Bobby Heenan promo after that,
Yes.
and he claims that he is recruiting talent at this tournament.
Yeah,
because Bobby Heenan's always working. He's always working.
yeah, he's got to hustle. Yeah, he says the creme de la creme is here tonight, so he's definitely looking for more talent for his Heenan stable.
After that, we have a Cowboy Bob Orton versus Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Yes.
So I actually noted immediately that I'm not used to these two being opponents to each other, and that I think this is actually the point in time that Hogan and Paul Orndorff are best friends.
Yeah, there's definitely some trading of alliances between those guys, and Piper was in the mix there too, and they had, of course,
Right.
their big tag match at the first WrestleMania. So I love seeing Paul Orndorff in his prime, another just absolute stud. He's again a legit tough guy, great moves. He's so pumped up. He comes out really fast in this one. He starts working on Orton's arm, which is sort of perpetually in that cast, just wailing on him. I don't know that I ever really appreciated how great he was when I was a kid, and he was always a heel. It's just like, oh, look at this pompous jackass. But now, every time I see him, I'm so impressed just with his physique and his moves and his selling too. He's great.
Yeah, I was only really familiar with Orndorff's late work in WCW, like the end of his career stuff. And he was okay. He still worked fine, but like I didn't get it. But now like that we've been watching this old stuff, is like, yeah, he deserves that name, Mr. Wonderful. Like he is a solid worker, and he looks very smooth and very skilled and talented in everything that he does. And that helmet of hair that he has,
It's
just
it's super
it's so
impressive.
beautiful.
Yeah, he was great. His family actually runs his Twitter account still, and they post some actually really cool videos of him in his prime that I've been really enjoying lately. So
Bob also is no slouch in this match. He's looking good too. He's doing some great moves. He's working hard as being the asshole that he is. I did note that I hate every Orton.
Aw.
I don't like Randy. I don't like Bob. But Bob is at least talented.
Yeah.
There's a moment where they have to blur out Bob Orton's ass crack when Orndorff uses it to pull him down.
I thought I thought I had flipped over to cops by accident when that happened. Just the little pixelated everything.
Yeah, and then there was a really impressive moment. They do the back bridge pin spot, that spot that everybody does now, where the guy's on top and then they do a back bridge out of it, but then Orton reverses that into a pin attempt, and that really impressed me. Like that was like some real technical mat work happening, and that was really enjoyable.
Not to mention core strength. I wrote down that it's actually interesting how few moves a lot of these matches entail. There's maybe you'll get a suplex and a body slam or a submission hold, or kind of one impressive move like this, but they really tend to run sort of the combos of the same few moves, on the arm drag, takedown, back up, do it again, that sort of thing. And it's great. I'm not knocking it at all, but it's interesting to see how much more complicated modern wrestling has gotten, and it doesn't necessarily make it better. That's I guess is my point.
I think a lot of the choreographed stuff that we see in today's wrestling is very bland, and it's very obvious that you can see them waiting for their opponent to do the move. You can and then the move still lands. You see him climbing to the top rope, he's going to jump on you, and you don't do anything. You stand there and take it.
Or six guys gather around to wait for the guy to jump over the top rope and land on them with his butt.
Right. So you got a lot. You don't have that happening here. You have what looks like legitimate competitive moves, even though because you're a wrestling fan, that they're really working and they're bumping and they're accompanying each other with these things. It's like dancing, but it doesn't look it. It looks like a fight.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, maybe that's a function of just having fewer things to keep track of, right? And you don't have to plug in these huge spots. You just kind of let it go organically. And everybody knows, sort of these standard sets of moves, right? The back body drop, the Irish whip into the clothesline, those kinds of things. And it's much easier sort of call in the ring to make it look and feel, organic and spontaneous. But it's a little bit like, music or the blues, right? Everybody's sort of playing with the same set of notes. And it's just, you have certain phrases that to put together. They sound good. This is especially a thing in the blues. And so if you have another musician who is also versed in the same genre, you guys can riff, for hours and hours with the same relatively small combination of sounds. So, and I think that's kind of what we see. I think I think the stuff that makes for great art is people who are really good at using a limited set of tools and techniques to make something that's really remarkable.
Right. I mean, case in point is Hulk Hogan. His entire career is body slam, 3 punches, big boot,
Yep.
leg drop.
And it friggin' works.
Every match. Hogan gets his ass kicked. He gets up. He shakes his head. He points at him. Punches him 3 times, throws him into the ropes, big boot, drops the leg, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't matter who it is. Andre the Giant, The Rock, doesn't matter. That is the sequence and the combo and the motion of events that happens. And for 20 years, you love it. You like it. You love it. And that's all you're going to get from him. And he doesn't care.
Right. And it's okay, honestly, because there's also something exciting about the predictability of it for, if that's not too counterintuitive to say.
Yeah, it's kind of a paradox. Like, it's coming, but you love it anyway.
Oh, shit.
And it surprises you every time.
Here comes the Hulk up. And then everybody knows to get hype, So anyway, we cut backstage to take a look at the big Michaels Crafts tournament board again. And Lord Alfred Hayes is trying to make out with the model there, which is really gross.
It's a very uncomfortable moment.
I didn't like that at all. Because he's gross. No. And she looks, I know it's not real, but she looks uncomfortable. She's just there to point at the pictures of the wrestlers with a stick. She doesn't need this guy on her case.
Yeah, I mean, in his defense, though, she was looking uncomfortable before he started making those moves as well. Like, she just, is standing there, stiff and awkward and shifting her eyes back and forth and stuff. And then she's like, in our first match. And she points with the stick. And, it was one of those moments again where I was like, oh, I should not have started watching this.
Wasn't necessary.
Oh, God.
Well, I think today they would just put up a graphic, right? You don't have to make the Michaels board and have somebody stand there and point at it. You just put up a graphic. So
yeah, and so after this is where you legitimately feel sad for Terry Funk. He comes on and he cuts another promo. He interrupts whatever is happening in the program and starts claiming that he could and should beat everyone else, and starts insulting Alfred Hayes for some reason. And he even gets bleeped at one point during this. And I couldn't even parse together what he could have possibly said.
Yeah.
I don't know if he dropped the F word randomly in there.
Yeah. I couldn't figure it out from the context either. I even backed it up and watched it a second time. Because, a lot of times you can tell, right? You just from the words before and after. But I think he maybe just threw in a random F word. Maybe, his horse was sick. So
yeah. And all the words are slurred together too and tied together. His eyes are all over the place. He's sweating, even though he didn't really have a match. You can tell that Vince is recognizing that something weird is happening. That Terry's not right.
The look on Vince's face is priceless. He's just...
Vince is this pay-per-view is gone.
Genuinely concerned.
This is the end. I'm sure WrestleMania 2 is booked at this point. I should probably just cancel it. This is the end. Thanks, Terry.
Let's wrap this up.
So that took us into the Elite 8 round here. And that round starts with Adrian Adonis versus Dynamite Kid.
Yeah, what a matchup of opposites, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, there is some impressive stuff that happens in this match. And this is the match that I'm suddenly like, do I like Adrian Adonis?
Is he good?
Is he good? Because, he's actually kind of keeping up with Dynamite Kid, despite his Dusty Rhodes appearance. And then Dynamite Kid lands a gut-wrench suplex on Adrian Adonis. Adrian's just a bag of ice from 7-Eleven. He just throws him over and is like, good God, Dynamite Kid. How, Like, you're fast and you're that strong. Like, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
But Adonis uses a sharpshooter in this match, which was impressive to see him land that. Guerrilla Monsoon called it something else. I think he might have called it like an Indian deathlock or something like that, possibly. But that's not what that is. That was definitely a sharpshooter. Yeah, so that was this match was kind of a surprise for me.
And for a second Adrian Adonis appearance here in the same special, I agree. I thought he was great. His look is something else. Like I say, he's got the leather jacket with a patch on the back. He's got sort of feathered and highlighted hair. Again, he looks like a big Iron Maiden fan, or maybe more of a Judas Priest fan. I don't know. I would say he bumps super well for a Dynamite Kid. He catches those arm drag takedowns and he bounces off the canvas like a super ball, man. And he's also impressively light on his feet for such a big guy. I think I might actually need to go watch more old Adrian Adonis matches.
Yeah, because the Adrian Adonis that we saw in the last WrestleMania that he was in, it was not good. And I think he was wasn't he wearing like a pink tutu or something like that?
And that was a hair match.
It was very effeminate.
Yeah. That wasn't great.
So yeah, Adonis is managed by Jimmy Hart, we should mention. So it's nice to see Jimmy Hart this early. And he ends up bumping into Jimmy Hart because Jimmy Hart's jumped up onto the ring apron, as managers do. Adonis collides and bumps his head right into Jimmy's megaphone, and Dynamite Kid rolls him up. Onwards we went.
3. Thanks for coming, Adrian Adonis. Jesse Ventura cut the promo with Mean Gene next. Mean Gene tells Jesse he's biased, which really made me laugh. There's another, I think it's on one of the WrestleManias actually, where Guerrilla Monsoon sort of stops mid-sentence and says, "Why are you so biased?" It's Jesse. It always makes me crack up.
It's always interesting when Jesse Ventura is on the commentary, because he also will call out bullshit. Like there's that one SummerSlam where someone his compatriot says, well, he hit him with the chair outside of the ring, so you can't be disqualified for it. And Jesse Ventura just turns to him and is like, so you telling me that I could shoot my opponent outside of the ring with a gun and then drag him into the ring and pin him and I win?
He's got a point.
Yeah. Jesse Ventura is the man who tells it like it is.
That's what he says here in this promo with Mean Gene. So I guess I'm sorry for doubting him. So,
and it's kind of weird that an announcer is cutting a promo with Mean Gene at this point, but we'll take it, whatever.
No, I do get a kick out of Jesse. Next up is Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat. This is 2 years before their epic match at WrestleMania 3, which of course everybody is familiar with. But, I sort of looked up to see if, all right, was this the start of that feud? But no, actually in between, Savage had a year-long program with George the Animal Steele. I don't know why it took, WWF so long to put these guys back together, because they're obviously magic together at WrestleMania 3, and they're both really exciting here together as well.
Feud with George Steele was kind of interesting, though. It was, Elizabeth was sympathetic to him. It was kind of like a King Kong kind of story. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was.
It's a bit more complex than what you would expect out of wrestling at this point in time.
He was always carrying her off, like you said, like King Kong with Fay Ray.
And so Macho Man is in different ring attire for this match, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, he's definitely flashy. He's definitely showing it off. And he's pulling all the standard heel tactics where he holds Elizabeth in front of him to shield him, to keep Ricky from attacking him. But then Macho lands as what Guerrilla Monsoon dubs a Pearl Harbor job on Ricky Steamboat. I guess that means he jumped him from behind. I don't know. I think there's other sneak attacks in history than Pearl Harbor.
Rich.
But
that's the only one.
And I don't even think that was much of a sneak attack. But anyways, we're not going to get into World War II history at this point. But these guys are working fast.
Yeah. No, they're super hot here right from the start. Guerrilla says that Macho Man's just like a cat, which is a callback, of course, to his earlier promo.
Goddamn genius. Calling back
Amazing.
To these things.
Guerrilla Monsoon.
Ricky is devastating Macho Man with chops. The arena is echoing in these chops, and it's like Ric Flair's in the ring or something.
He's beating the crap out of his chest for sure. Macho goes for the double axe handle off of the ropes and gets a shot to the old breastbasket instead. Another Monsoonism.
I love Guerrilla Monsoon. I love his commentary on everything that he's doing. The way he calls matches and uses fake scientific terms, but he's also really talking from experience. So it's really interesting to hear him call matches, and the way he calls them it feels more like a legitimate sporting event and not just storytelling, that he's calling the moves, he's calling the action like it's a baseball game or a boxing match, as opposed to being a narrator for the overall picture. And I really dig it.
Yeah, he's great. And he had great interplay with, his various co-hosts, Jesse Ventura, obviously maybe being sort of the most famous, longest running one. And, the two of them together I thought were really good. That Grudge Matches compilation that I was just mentioning earlier, he's doing, again, sort of studio voiceover work on some of the matches. And so you get to kind of hear him talking in a sort of more normal, less, stadium or arena voice, and also not have to interact with somebody like Jesse. And so, which is really interesting. I think you would probably dig that, because like he really, like you said, it makes it seem like a, legitimate sporting event.
This match is good, but it just doesn't have the same fire that their WrestleMania 3 match had. And Macho pulls out something from his trunks, nails Ricky right in the face with it. Down he went. 1, 2, 3. And again, Macho Man runs like hell out of there.
There's a shower of trash right as he's going out of ringside, and some of it even beans him in the head. I noticed. That's one of the things I love watching these old shows, actually, is the crowds throwing trash. They don't let you do that anymore, which is a real shame.
Jim Cornette always talks about how back in the day they had real heat. Like the heels actually needed like police escorts out to the ring, and because people would try to attack them. And like it always has this like feel of authenticity when like you see like the arena security walking the wrestler to the ring, but then you hear stories from Jim Cornette to where that's necessary, and it's just terrifying.
Yeah, and he also was talking about how some of the heels would kind of hang out sometimes like in the back so they could all sort of duck out together, so that they would have sort of each other for protection. So it could have been, I'm sure it was legitimately scary in some of those territories, especially if somebody with a gimmick like the Iron Sheik, sort of an anti-American kind of thing, or, any of that.
Yeah, but anyways, so after this match, we are not blessed by a promo by Moondog Spot. I noted that he speaks Appalachian gibberish, and that I feel like he might be like that Gabby Johnson guy from Blazing Saddles that just gets up and rah, 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 rah,
I thought maybe it was Proto Boomhauer, from King of the Hill. So he brings his security bone to the interview, is the cow bone or whatever it is he's carrying around.
That's his emotional support bone.
Well, I'm glad if it helps him, whatever, it's fine. So Moondog is up next against JYD. Does anybody really think the Moondog's going all the way in this tournament?
No, there's no way. I mean, Junkyard Dog's winning this. I mean, I guess they could have pulled a shocker, but I think that's so obvious that they don't even bother sending a ref out for this match.
The crowd, as we noted, sort of really pops for JYD's entrance.
They basically just come out and brawl, and JYD lands a headbutt, pins Moondog Spot, and counts to 3 himself. And like Guerrilla Monsoon's like, I don't think that's going to be official. But then Howard Finkel gets on the mic and goes, and your winner, Junkyard Dog.
That was a good one for Jesse to call bullshit on. Maybe that was,
he's got a point with this one. He's definitely got a point. Paul Orndorff versus Tito Santana now.
Yeah, the crowd's super into Orndorff here. I love both of these guys.
Tito and Paul start the match off with a handshake, so that we know that it's good guy versus good guy. Guerrilla Monsoon is suspecting that Tito has torn his hamstring in the first match, and that's why he has this small strip of athletic tape wrapping around his thigh. I'm pretty certain that a torn hamstring would warrant a bit more than an athletic wrap.
Well, I broke my neck one time, and I just put a little Band-Aid on it. It was fine. They get off to a really good pace, very deliberate. They're sort of taking their time, sort of some of the classic, combinations like we were talking about, the headlock takeover, et cetera, et cetera. Orndorff gets a chicken wing on Tito and sort of forces him to the ground with it. And they're both just selling their asses off. Orndorff really sells the force and the torque that he's putting on, and Tito, of course, is selling the pain. And Tito reverses the chicken wing, make me hungry for chicken wings. Those guys are going at it.
They really have some amazing facials of like selling each other in this match. And Paul Orndorff really shows off some athleticism doing flips to get out of these leg scissors that Tito Santana keeps putting him in. And Guerrilla Monsoon actually makes chicken wing into a verb. He says he's chicken winged, and that was fascinating. It's like chicken wings a verb now.
Yeah,
I can
no,
support that.
I'm with that for sure. I'm gonna run on down to Buffalo Wild Wings and chicken wing myself.
Yeah. These two are really doing a great match, and then they eventually get frustrated and they start brawling, and they eventually fall out of the ring, brawling, and it's a WWF classic moment.
Oh yeah,
It's the double count out that happens every time.
I was excited for the double count out, honestly. So there's right before they fall out of the ring, they're like tied up on the ropes. They're kind of like, sort of at a stalemate. And Guerrilla says, well, what we'll see here is a nice clean break, perhaps. And then Orndorff sort of promptly backs up and tosses an elbow. That made me laugh a lot. That was great comedic timing.
Yeah, and then like Ventura also like comments back like, so there's your clean break, Gino.
Yeah, I don't know how they coordinated that, but I think it's just experience talking. So the double count out for this one means that JYD advances to the final without having to wrestle in a semifinal match, and then Jesse Ventura will just not shut up about how unfair all of that is. Of course, because
to the point where it feels mildly racist because it's Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura, number one arbiter of fairness. It also means that Bobby Heenan's $50,000 bounty on Paul Orndorff goes uncollected. Pretty convenient for Bobby Heenan.
Oh, right, he was. Yeah, he was ranting about something about that. I for some reason my brain wasn't absorbing it and taking it in. But
I mean, I was just thinking about the scene in Semi Pro where they put the the half court shot up to get the big check, and then the guy actually ends up hitting it, but they don't actually have the money. I think it'd be really funny if that would have happened here.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what if that had a botched ending, and then like Tito Santana is like knocking on Bobby Heenan's dressing door, like, "Hey, where's my money?"
Could have made hay out of that for a good 6 months easily. So we get back to the big board because we're heading into the final 4 semifinal, whatever you want to call it. Lord Alfred Hayes is still trying to make out with the model. I could really do without it. And then we get to Hulk Hogan promo.
Oh yeah. It's another Hogan classic. It's got all the phrases that you would expect from a Hogan promo. But he's also, it looks like he's wearing a G-string on his head or something.
I think it's
I don't know what that is.
T-shirts. It looks like it's like a shred of one of his T-shirts. I mean, just buy a headband. You have plenty of money,
Right. And then he's also got on like this American-made Union muscle shirt.
Hulk Hogan, big supporter of organized labor. Thanks, Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point in time to where like they're kind of selling his character as like the blue collar construction all American,
which is the funniest fucking thing I think I've ever heard. Like, just look at that fucking guy. Yeah, sure, lots of blue collar guys going to work, in a ripped tank top and 24-inch pythons.
Right after this, WWF puts out another music album that's called Pile Driver, and it has Hogan in like a hard hat and like a dirty wife beater shirt, looking all grimy that he had been out, working on building the skyscraper. And someone on Facebook recently had shared some behind the scenes photos that went along with that album, and there's some quite amazing, like, oh my God, this is amazing 80s wrestling photos of like Vince McMahon in like a tank top sweating on a construction site. Like,
yeah,
come
on.
All legit.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, that was a great promo. And Hulk is sort of the master at that sort of short and sweet, and also getting his brand in. At this point, like, this is sort of right when Hulkamania is really starting to hit big. Obviously, we won't be till WrestleMania 3 when it really kind of reaches its absolute peak, but like, it's forming as a brand here for sure. He does this what you gonna do. He throws in a ton of brothers. He said, Mean Gene. Piper's gonna feel Hulkamania coming down heavy on him. So he's got the package here, and he's clearly putting it together.
This might be the period of time that Hogan claims to have created the concept of selling merchandise. So he's famously said that he created the idea of selling wrestling T-shirts and so anyways, that brings us into the title match for the night, and that is Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper. And I thought it was odd that this is this early in the card. That I thought that this match would be right before the final match of the tournament, just so that the two wrestlers would have some time to rest. But no, This is before the final round of matches. So
yeah, there's still one more semifinal match to go, and then the second semifinal match got skipped because JYD got to bye. So then we've got the final match coming up after that. So yeah, so two more significant matches, and they're cutting to this sort of ostensibly a main event type thing. It's a little weird.
So Piper is billed from Glasgow, Scotland.
Oh, it says here you're from Scotland. And then he replies in like the world's thickest Saskatoon accent.
Hogan's in white tights, and I'm not used to that. It made me a little uncomfortable that he's not in his yellow and red. And I thought it was interesting that the crowd really seemed split over Hogan. Like, you can hear significant amount of booing in the crowd when they announce Hogan. And
I think Piper obviously had a lot of support, from being a hardcore territory guy, right? And would coming in, and I think at this point there's still plenty of folks who don't really buy Hogan as a legitimate wrestler. He seems like a bit of a manufactured attraction as opposed to somebody who's worked their way up like Piper has. So that's if you want to talk the blue collar guy in this feud, it ain't Hogan.
No, it's definitely Piper.
Yeah,
he had a rough go.
So these two together, I think, is one of the defining storylines of this kind of mid '80s period. As wrestling is coming a really big thing. They had a big face-off at the first WrestleMania in a tag match, of course, with Hogan and Mr. T on one side and Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton on the other side. So there's a lot of history here with these two.
They got off to a really fast start, so there's beef between them. Like, Hogan's music is still playing and they're fighting, and like Piper is all the heel attacks with eye pokes, and I love his eye pokes. Like, you see him point his fingers out and jab. Like, it's so good. And he's like chopping Hogan in the throat, which that can't feel good. I don't care how supposedly fake this is. Like, someone even this bumping your throat a little bit has to hurt. And like, here's Piper like throwing karate chops into Hogan's throat. And like Piper lands this amazing delayed front bump. Like, Hogan's socked him and like he comes stumbling out of the corner and then flops. It's so good. And like when Hogan locks Piper into a bear hug at one point and the crowd loses its mind. Like, they can't handle it. They're just going to lose it.
It's that Chicago crowd, man. They're hot. This is a hot crowd.
Yeah. But then during that, a Roddy chant starts. You can hear the crowd, Roddy. Like, Hogan's not completely over at this point yet. Guerrilla Monsoon, again, is amazing on commentary in this match. And he's criticizing pinning techniques from both sides. And he's just like, you think you're going to keep him down for 3 if his arm is out like that? You got to hook the leg. You got to hook both legs. You got to keep your center of gravity on the guy's chest. Like, he's just breaking it down and tearing them apart for really bad pinning, and it's amazing.
That's great. So there's a sleeper move, getting closer to the end of this one, that Piper sort of slings himself across Hogan's back and slaps a sleeper move on, which is a really cool move. Like, it's pretty impressive to see. He brings Hawk down to his knees and then down to his butt and then down to his side. And then, of course, you get the hand raise and the finger wag and the Hawk up. Hawk breaks the sleeper by diving over the rope.
It's like the most legit bump Hogan probably ever does in his life. Like, it's like, I gasped when he did it. It's like,
I don't think anybody
dear God,
knows
Hogan, what are you doing?
That's not a thing.
I don't think you know how to do that. It was a scary land for everybody on that
Hogan
one.
is what, 6'6" or whatever, and Piper is like 6'3". He is clamped onto Hogan's back, and the two of them together both spill over the top rope into the floor. Like, there's no way to control that. Like, there's no way to work that. You're just gonna fall and hope you don't snap something.
Hogan's like running full speed with Piper on his back and throws himself over the top rope. It's not like it's just like he leans and rolls over the rope.
It was hardcore.
He threw himself over.
I like these two together a lot, actually. I said this is a classic rivalry. I mean, I think the thing that really sells Hogan for me is that he's a vulnerable superhero, right? Like, he looks like Superman, he wrestles like Superman, but he is also vulnerable. He gets the crap beat out of him, and he always sort of comes back. And Piper, on the other hand, is an honest to God street fighter, and he like you said, he's got the heel moves, he's got the eye pokes, he's got the actual punches that look like punches. So it's two very different styles that just work really well together.
And this match has a bullshit ending.
It does. It totally does.
Yeah, with another Pearl Harbor job. Cowboy Bob Orton running into the ring and jumping Hogan. And Orton and Piper beat the crap out of Hogan for a good period of time before Orndorff shows up with a chair and chasing everybody out.
That was not great. I mean, I get why they finish it that way, right? Then it lets the feud continue. You don't necessarily need to see Piper get beat flat and kind of take all the heat off of him, but they could have done something a little bit better here. So, and at the end, as we mentioned earlier with the Macho Man match, there's just a ton of trash flying at Piper at the end of this one as he comes up the ring or out of the ring and up the aisle.
Piper has to be concerned for his safety after this, and then like Orton too. They both need to get the hell out of there. And then of course it's time for Hogan
to pose in the ring and do all his usual moves.
His career here. Yeah, so then we get a Junkyard Dog promo again. And again, he is talking so fast. It was really hard to take notes on it. But one thing that did come out was he had been training for about 2 weeks. He slimmed down.
2 weeks, huh?
Thanks for the good effort there.
Yeah, two whole weeks.
Like Hogan preps for matches for months and like training montage every day, every time you see him on TV. And then like Junkyard Dog's like, I've been training for about 2 weeks.
I will say he actually does look pretty good here. He looks a little skinnier than I remembered. Maybe that's just my memory playing tricks on me, but I always kind of think of him as sort of a much heavier guy. But maybe that's later JYD that I'm thinking of.
So that brings us to the only semifinal match, and that is going to be the Dynamite Kid versus Macho Man, which again sounds like a classic when you see it on paper.
For sure. Like you said, the placement of this one is a little weird. We thought maybe this should have happened and then the Hogan one, while the fans sort of get ready for that final tournament match. But so this is the third time that Macho Man's come down now, and each time his opponent has started in the ring, just standing in the ring while he comes down with the full entrance music. He gets a different outfit each time. They're really sort of telegraphing the finish to the tournament here, I would say. Also, I noticed that the announcer in the ring says, "The man who has been victorious so far over Ivan Putski and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat." So for nobody else did they mention all the people that they beat in the previous rounds to get to this particular match. So I wonder who's going to win here.
Yeah, I'm on edge trying to find out who's going to win this one. So
Guerrilla starts out by really talking about the way that Macho Man treats Elizabeth. He doesn't like that at all. Guerrilla's he's an old-fashioned gentleman. He calls Randy the, quote, not so macho man, which I thought was a really sick burn. Good job, Gino.
Guys are like running around the ring. They are so fast. Like they're snapping around and stuff like that. It's an impressive match, and it looks like a match from the Hardy Boys in like the late 90s, as opposed to like this is an 80s match, mid 80s match that's normally like just muscle-bound guys grunting and pushing on each other. These two are doing moves. They're running around. They're popping on each other. It's an incredible match. And in classic fashion, Macho Man, like the huge back body drop that he takes.
That's huge.
The Dynamite Kid like sent him flying. And with them moving around and stuff, you can hear the ring. It sounds like a snare drum, like it's just popping. It's so loud. It's almost distracting during this match.
I kind of wondered if a mic had come, unfastened or something, because it's definitely going up a notch for this particular round.
Yeah, and so like they're back and forth, and no one's getting an advantage. And then Macho Man is going up to the top rope to probably land his patented double axe handle, and Dynamite Kid drop kicks him. He like hits him in the chest. It's not like just like drop kicking his legs out from under him, but like he drop kicks him in the body. So Dynamite Kid jumps the height of the ropes plus half of Macho Man's height and lands a drop kick.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. We knew that Dynamite Kid was athletic, obviously super fast, but man, he really, that's some serious elevation.
So we have what I think is the most clever finish of this entire event. After Macho Man takes that drop kick, he's now sitting on the top rope, and Dynamite Kid goes up, puts him into a superplex off the top rope, and it's devastating looking. But Macho Man is sneaky, and as they hit the mat, Macho Man hooks Dynamite Kid's leg with his own leg and traps Dynamite Kid into a pin, in one super smooth action. And I don't even think they could do that kind of finish, and anybody could do that kind of finish today. Like, that kind of body awareness to make that hook happen and stuff like that, and then the flexibility to do it. It's an incredible finish.
Coming right off of a superplex too, right? So you're like bouncing off the canvas pretty hard, and then just sort of having your head about you enough to figure out where the other guy's legs are, and like rolling your legs up over your own head to catch him. That was super cool. I really like the twist of Dynamite Kid thinking he won here. So they get the 3 count, and Dynamite Kid jumps up. He thinks, oh, that was my pin. But then, we realize that Macho Man had caught the legs. So I actually didn't catch the reversal the first time I watched it. I had to watch it on the replay when they showed it. It's very cool. I would highly recommend you take a look at the end of that match.
Yeah, the replay makes it even look more impressive, because like you can see, like they're in midair when Macho Man is moving his leg. So like they've hit the mat and they've bounced up off of it because the damn thing's a trampoline, and they're in the air, and Macho Man hooks his leg around Dynamite Kid's leg. I got to go back and watch it again, like for like a 15th time now.
Yeah, it was impressive. What a couple of athletes. So, all right. So kudos to Dynamite Kid and the Macho Man for that spectacular performance and finish. Next up is maybe the worst part of the whole program. There's a giveaway for a Silver Cloud 3 Rolls Royce. There are 3 different speakers in the ring. There's the WWF head of promotions. There's the guy sort of leading the drawing, which he pronounces drawing. And there's Lord Alfred Hayes. They're all trying to hype up the crowd. Each one of them, when he comes up, says that there were hundreds of thousands of entries. Each of those 3 guys says that pretty much that specific phrase in order. Wikipedia told me that there were 250,000 entries. So, I mean, I guess that's technically correct. Citation is needed. Yeah, so we get to watch these 3 hang out in the ring. And
it takes a long time. They're using this to rest Macho Man before his match.
You know what would have been a great way to rest Macho Man before that match? A Hulk Hogan versus Piper match. He could have just sat and watched it.
Yeah. And they could have drawn this number backstage, this guy's name backstage, and then have Howard Finkel just go, and the winner of the Silver Cloud Rolls Royce is Michael Hamley from Batavia, Illinois. Like,
fuck that guy for real.
You're delaying the show. We should note that the original VHS release of this event did not include this segment. But they decided to put it back in when they uploaded it to the WWE network, or the Cock.
Well, thank God for that. So yeah, the crowd is not happy. They're pissed. They're throwing shit. Somebody says when they draw the winner, they say, "Let's give him a real Chicago cheer." The crowd goes boo.
Yeah, that's because everybody just lost and they're
pretty
pissed.
Great.
We get a Hogan promo right after that.
Yeah,
right?
Where he's back in the locker room, with Mean Gene. Actually, I noticed his middle and index fingers were taped together, so I'm guessing he broke them when he tossed his big ass over the top rope with Roddy Piper attached to him.
Yeah. They might have gotten caught in the turnbuckle. That's untaped.
So many things that could have happened.
So that brings us to the main event, the match that we've been waiting for, the match that actually triggered us to watch this whole thing. And that is Macho Man Randy Savage versus the Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, and just to refresh your memory, again, this is the first WWF pay-per-view to feature a black performer in a main event, hence why we got here in the first place. So
Macho Man is in yet another set of ring attire, and this time it's a tie-dye shirt, looking super classy.
Dirty hippies.
Macho is also like selling his exhaustion too, and it's really impressive. He's like limping a little bit, he's like hunched over a bit, and it's
he
great.
looks beat up for sure. When they get down to the ring, he sort of hides behind Elizabeth, not so macho move, as Gino would say. We get JYD's music again, which I know you love.
Grab them cakes. Grab them cakes. That song is a bop. I think I'm going to start singing that to my son every night when he goes. I
imagine he would like it. If he's into Real American, he would love Grab Them Cakes.
Just so you know, though, Amazon Music does not know Grab Them Cakes. I asked my Alexa multiple times to play Grab Them Cakes, and Alexa was just grabbing random shit and playing it for me, and I was very sad. And then my wife was like, "What are you trying to get Alexa to play?" I'm like, "It's a song called Grab Them Cakes." She's like, I'm not going to ask. And then she just walked away.
She doesn't get it, clearly. Also, technology is terrible and the future is bullshit.
I suspect that the song is not digitized. eased into any like actual service. So anyways, to the action, the match kind of starts with Macho Man throwing a steel chair at Junkyard Dog, but Junkyard Dog catches it and he starts headbutting the chair because he doesn't
Right.
give a shit about himself or anything. And it's quite an amusing and spectacular moment, and again proving that his head is indestructible.
It's a fact.
Macho Man, though, also does an amazing job of dragging out the start of the match and is really building up heat. And that crowd, everyone's got a keg into them at this point, I think. They are frothing at the mouth, wanting to kill Macho Man.
Chicago is lit.
We get another classic Guerrilla Monsoon line of a headbutt to the thoracic vertebrae area.
Did he say, does he say external occipital protuberance in this event? Did he say it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's in the anatomy books. It's that little tiny bony spur at the back of your skull. But I love that he says it.
Do you think he has like someone on an earpiece into him, like just reading from Grey's Anatomy?
I think he memorized it when he was on the road. As when he was in his wrestling days. I think he would just read it between towns, and they just decided that's when he decided to make it his mission to work all of the anatomical vocabulary into his commentating.
I noted that like Junkyard Dog, I definitely understand why he was a draw. He is so charismatic even when in the ring. He just holds your attention, and he does unusual shit like the crawling headbutt, for example. But like he's just a joy to watch. He's always happy, and like it's an amazing thing to see him. This match is a classic. I really enjoyed this match, and I feel like it's forgotten to the WWF universe at this point in time, and that they need to get some of their current talent to go back and watch this match to really see true face versus true heel work.
Yeah, I agree. This was great, and I was not familiar with this special before we queued it up to watch, and so I'm really glad that we did. Macho Man kind of does some of his classics. He gets the two big double axe handles from the top rope all the way to the concrete floor. I don't know how his knees lasted more than like a single year of doing that shit, but he is healing it up like crazy. He's choking JYD on the railing.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's doing all the asshole moves.
Sure.
But then he eventually he gets too aggressive and comes hard at Junkyard Dog, and Junkyard Dog dumps him over the top rope, and that impact on the straight concrete floor, that was just too much. Macho Man had already been through 3 fights, and now he just ate a big one onto the floor and loses by countout, and Junkyard Dog gets the win.
I was shocked.
And a huge pop.
I was shocked at that ending. Actually, I did not see it coming that way. It's like you don't really see matches end that way usually. Especially sort of at the kind of like main event level, right? So yeah, it's always a trip to see that there are no pads on the concrete floor out there. It's straight concrete.
Yeah, and it was such a dramatic count out. Like I've never seen a count out that exciting. Like it was impressive. Like how I think it was just like the way Macho Man was selling his landing, and Junkyard Dog like standing there anticipating him coming back in, and then Guerrilla Monsoon just hyping up the count and hyping the injuries that Macho Man has suffered over the night. It really sold for a great moment. It was
a lot of fun. The crowd actually counts along with the count out, which I haven't seen before either. And they were absolutely losing their shit. So they were all in for Junkyard Dog.
Yeah. And then they have this wonderful moment. And then Jesse Ventura has to get in the ring and the shit all over it, claiming that it wasn't fair that Junkyard Dog only fought 3 matches to Macho Man's 4. And it's just like, shut up. Like, this is stupid. Like, they should have just been like, and Junkyard Dog wins. Good night, everybody.
And credits. All right, so should we talk best and worst matches and all that stuff? Did you have a favorite?
I did, and it's going to be Macho Man versus Dynamite Kid. They were in a stalemate, and then that incredible finish, the hooking of the leg off of the superplex for a pin. I can't stop talking about it, and that's. And so I'm going to force myself to shut up now and just say that's my favorite match, and that is why.
Yeah, I actually that was the one I chose as well. I thought there's a lot of fun matches throughout here. They're fast, they're very creative. There's a lot of great talent involved. Most of the matches here have sort of unconventional endings, which is cool. So I picked Macho Man Dynamite Kid, but I could have probably easily picked one of a half a dozen. I think Hogan versus Piper was really solid. The main event, JYD versus Macho Man, was really good. So anyway, but yeah, I will also shut up now and just say Macho Man and Dynamite Kid.
How about your worst match?
Worst match? My worst match, probably the Moondog versus JYD match for the weird finish with JYD counting for himself. It just seems really cheap, and that's not how any of this works.
Yeah, I'm with you in agreement there, because it's not a real match. I don't get it, and it's probably the cheapest homebrew bullshit thing I've seen WWF do in a very long time.
Yeah, not very good. Even the Terry Funk Moondog match before that was better, with the sort of Moondog tricking Terry into getting himself counted out. I mean, it was also not a match. Also featured Appalachian Boomhauer, but it was at least had something to it.
How about your oh shit moment?
Yeah, so I think, like the best match, there are quite a few. There's so many weird, like, gimmicked finishes that make you say oh shit. That legs on the ropes finish from the Macho Man early on. Lots of super athletic moves from some of these guys. I picked Dynamite Kid, like, leaving his feet and landing that drop kick on the Macho Man while Savage is sitting on the top rope. Gorilla says he jumped 7 feet in the air, which I don't really think, but he gets easily 4 feet vertical off of the mat.
It's important to point out too that Dynamite Kid was not running into that drop kick. He just stood up and drop kicked
he goes
him
from standing flat.
So
it's crazy.
I think you can guess what my oh shit moment actually is, and it's tied to that moment, and that is the pin. The incredible leg hook pin that happens off of that superplex that happens after that drop kick. I want to shut up again because I'm just going to keep ranting about it again.
So what would you give this one on your overall review and rating?
So I'm like pushing like a 4.1 on this one. Like, it's a little bit better than a 4, but not worthy of the 4.5. So it's like a 4.1 out of 5. I would argue with anybody that this event is the reason why WrestleMania 2 happens, not because of WrestleMania 1. WrestleMania 1 is fine, but this is also the first true pay-per-view that WrestleMania 1 was done over closed circuit television. Supposedly it had about 47,000 buys, which people think that that's not good, but this is the early days of cable, and to get 47,000 people to cough up probably $20 to $30 in the mid 80s to watch this is pretty impressive. And they hold it in an arena that's outside of their Northeast territory at this point too. So it's really starting to show the coast to coast reach that WWF is forming. And, the Rosemont Horizon is one of the locations for WrestleMania 2 of the 3 that they decided to have. But also the thing about this one is that you have all of their stars on the card, and they're in singles matches. So you don't have to wait for Dynamite Kid to tag in Davey Boy Smith. You don't need to wait for Hulk Hogan to get a hot tag from Paul Orndorff to get in there or anything like that. You have that talent that you get to see featured nonstop through the whole night. You get to see Macho Man in the ring 4 times. You get to see Junkyard Dog in the ring 3 times. You get to see Tito Santana twice. It's incredible. It's an incredible show and an amazing lineup. And I think the success of this is what pushes them to do WrestleMania 2 more than WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, I would probably agree with you. I think I'd give it probably a 4 out of 5. I don't like to do, I like to keep my ratings to the 0.0 or 0.5. So I'm not going to go all crazy and do a 4.1 because, that would just get out of hand. But I'm going to give this one a 4.0 out of 5. I think you're right on target, actually, that, this is a better show than WrestleMania 1. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think, again, the things that you mentioned, the talent involved, the just, great matches, lots of drama. You got Gorilla and Jesse on the commentary. We're starting to get Hawkamania to run wild, but it's not quite at its absolute peak. So this is just also an amazing time capsule of mid-80s WWF. And if you are interested at all in sort of that period in professional wrestling and in figuring out what it was about this particular product that people just found so compelling and caused them to buy tickets and pay-per-views, in record numbers, this is really a good one for you to check out. As we do every episode, we like to pay tribute to the men and women who appeared in an event who are no longer with us, because we're going way back to 1985. That list is pretty long this time. Includes Mean Gene Okerlund, WWE President Jack Tunney, Lord Alfred Hayes, Guerrilla Monsoon, Howard Finkel, the Macho Man Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, the Dynamite Kid, Davey Boy Smith, Adrian Adonis, Nikolai Volkov, the Junkyard Dog, Moondog Spot, aka Larry Booker, Mr. Fuji, Bobby the Brain Heinen, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper, and actually probably the newest addition to the list, unfortunately, is Corporal Kirchner, Michael Penzel, who actually just died at the end of December 2021.
Well, that is going to conclude this episode of All the WrestleManias and our special edition on the 1985 Wrestling Classic. As always, make sure to check us out at allthewrestlemanias.podbean.com or allthewrestlemanias.wordpress.com. On Twitter, we're at WrestleManiaPod, or drop us an email at WrestleManiablog@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time.